Welcome everybody to the channel and the Cleveland Browns 0-16 rebuild. It's great to be here for episode 55 as we continue on here in the series after winning our second consecutive Super Bowl championship. This was a series that began with the Browns coming off an 0-16 season, and we have since turned them around into one of the top teams in the NFL, having won the last two Super Bowls, including one with a perfect 19-0 overall record. Now that we've won two Super Bowls, it's clear that the work is mostly finished. We're now going to shift our focus in this series to wrap it up in a way, but because we've spent so much time in this series and with these players, we all want to see where many of them end up. Of course, there is Anton Greenberry, our 33-year-old quarterback who has been with us for 11 seasons and has won two Super Bowl titles. We all want to see if he goes to the Hall of Fame and where the rest of his career goes. There's also Perry Cummings, who is much younger at 24, but his addition to this team clearly put our offense over the top, as he became a 99 overall running back after being drafted late as a wide receiver. We then turned him into a running back where his skill set I thought fit better, and it's hard to disagree with that after how well he has done in a very short amount of time, and he is your most recent Super Bowl MVP. Many want to see his career through the end, which could take some time, but I think now, after reading a lot of the feedback on the last comment section, we're now going to recap the series like this. We're still going to do the off-seasons and manage the team because I don't think I'd like to wrap up the series by just letting the computer destroy this team that I have created. Letting players go, making bad signings, unnecessary draft picks. It would be a not fun way to end the series to me. So instead, my plan is to go through off-seasons pretty normally, but then I want to do full seasons and an entire episode, mostly simming, lots of recapping, and I'll skip over some of the more unnecessary details, and we're only going to sit in on highly important games, which right now for this team, it's basically Super Bowls is what we want to watch. So this episode is going to be another off-season, and we are going to set this team up for next year, and the following episode will be us going through the entire season, unless we make the Super Bowl, in which case we'll watch that game. Here are the highest paid players on the team right now. Anton Greenberry, Shadon Underwood, Julian Wool, then Javonte Mann is a little bit further down the list. We have significantly invested into our offense and it's paid off with two Super Bowls. Now we finally earned the money to allow us to basically not be constrained anymore. We can use the entirety of the salary cap, having over $100 million. So now it's all about, is it still smart to keep some of these players even if we can afford them? Like Russell Severud, for instance, 88 overall, but slow development. He hasn't had the most productive career here in Cleveland, and I think we have the players to replace him, especially because these numbers aren't exactly elite. I'm not even going to bother here with the negotiation. We will let Russell Severud test the open market. Even though we are kind of in wrap-up mode, I still want to control the team the same way I normally would in a sense. I don't want to just spend the cap because we have it. I'm still kind of being mindful about the future with this roster. For Walker Sharpe, I also think we can let him go. He's an 83 overall at 27 years old. Definitely not an elite player. He's solid, not a bad player to have, but I think we'll also move on from him. There really isn't anybody here I want to sign to a large long-term deal. I think I want to franchise tag Spencer Chase and just keep a great tackle on the team. But otherwise, I plan on letting most of these players test. Sadly, that includes Francis Goodwin. We drafted to replace him, and now I think it is time. He's an 80 overall at 34 years old. It's been a great run in Cleveland, but it might not continue. He might be going to another new team. Here is Tank Barksdale's legacy on this team. We have kept him around for a number of seasons. We might look in a new direction this year at fullback. And before I forget, I know I didn't really talk about the awards much last episode. We do want to see awards and everything that goes to players in this series. Patrick Nichols is your MVP this year, and we're pretty familiar with these top three quarterbacks here on the list. Nichols knocked us out of the postseason 3 AFC championship games ago, but we have since been victorious. Let's go to the AFC. Deshaun Watson is your Offensive Player of the Year, with the highest rated Brown being Anton Greenberry. Defensive Player of the Year, Perry Jarrett from the Raiders. Offensive Rookie is Brennan Allstott. Defensive, Walker Wofford beats out DeJuan Hull. That's very surprising. Best quarterback is Deshaun Watson. Greenberry only in at number 4. That's surprising. Perry Cummings, though, I'm assuming ran away with this one, quite literally. Perry Cummings already near 4,000 legacy, and he's not even 3 years into his career yet. Spencer Morris, the best receiver. We'll need to check on his numbers, being that he is an ex-Brown in this series. Clearly, though, on the downswing in his career at 80 overall. Best offensive lineman, Raymond Byrd. Jamal Copel's number 2. Nordley Binns, the top defensive lineman for the Raiders. Perry Jarrett. They have some award winners, but only 6 victories. Julius McNabb, still a 92 overall, and I think he's in his early mid-30s. Will Lutz, best kicker? What about Derek Haynes? He was near perfect. I feel like we never talk about the league leaders. I forget to add that at the end of years. But here are the league leaders for this season, with Kevin Fox having the most yardage. 4 touchdowns, it is Daniel Walsh from the Broncos. On the ground, Devontae Cook leads in yardage. He beats out Perry Cummings. In the receiving department, Darrell Sellers. But the best receiver in the AFC was Morris, and he's down here with 1,399 yards. That has to be a career high. There we go, I had it sorted by the wrong category. Julius McNabb, 8 interceptions. How old is he? 32, and his skills are still so elite. Here is the career stat update for the team, and we had nobody retire this year, by the way. Anton Greenberry, 368 touchdowns all time, 129 interceptions. Perry Cummings, not quite to 3,000 yards in just 2 years of play, 23 touchdowns on the ground. Julian Wall reached 500 catches this year and has 46 touchdowns. Underwood has 48. Defensively, Lawrence Glears is very close to 1,000 career tackles. Dante Morris, 24.5 sacks. For interceptions, Francis Goodwin has 39. Lawrence Glears, though, has 17. And then kicker Derek Haynes. He missed 2 field goals and 2 extra points. That's pretty good. It's hard to keep track of everybody in this series, so maybe looking at career stats over the entire league would be helpful. Lucas Enna, your current leader in touchdown passes with 377. All the young running backs in this series have turned out to be very good, with Elliott, Howard, Hunt, and the list just goes on and on from there. Oh wow, the active leader in receptions is actually Evan Ingram. That's surprising, being a tight end, but there are 4 tight ends in the top 6. So very interesting results here. David Njoku is up there. Lynn Bozeman, we've seen him, and he's put together like a Hall of Fame resume. Spencer Morris is right here with nearly 7,500 receiving yards. And I also saw, Javier Funches. I have to write that name down to put him in my Super Mega Baseball team. Dion Mack is here for the Cardinals, having a very solid career as well. And then we'll go to defense, who leads in sacks all time right now. Or active, Joey Bosa has almost 140. Tack McKinley is second, and he spent some time on our roster. And then there's Myles Garrett, who's now playing with the Dolphins. Tre'Davious White with 60 interceptions. Julius McNabb with 40. Francis Goodwin checks in with 39. And Derek Haynes has the best field goal percentage all time. We have about $50 million or so in cap room right now, maybe closer to 57. I just had to give an offer there to Chase so I could place the franchise tag on him for $13.4 million. I think it's $13 million well spent. Otherwise, everyone else here I've either signed or I'm not interested in, so I'm finished with this step. I did sign some younger players that I think have some potential, but nothing major. Alright, time to look at free agents to potentially sign, and I'm not really focused on building up the offense anymore. We have enough offensive linemen, I think. we would have 4 players who are at least an 89 overall, so can't be mad at that. We could use another interior lineman and build some depth. I also have no tight ends on the roster, so that's one area we have to rebuild. I think defensive tackle was an option, and then safety, given we did not keep Walker Sharpe. So let's go to free agency and see who's out there. We have Hammond here, a 3-4 pass rusher. Jameel Hammond might be an interesting player to keep an eye on, considering we are letting Sevrud go and we could use the boost to pass rush. Overall, not too impressed with this class. I don't think it offers us a ton of value. I will try to find some lower rated players then, perhaps. We'll see if Darius Payne gets the market he was asking for, but otherwise we're going to offer a contract far below what he wanted, but it's still in the yellow. I would have considered going after a high-profile defensive tackle, but instead we're going to focus on development given this class. Remember Tavares Hayden? He is available at 77 overall. He once had a lot of potential, but I didn't develop him very well, so he didn't end up having a phenomenal career. I'll try adding some linebacker depth. We have Santiago Huggins here in his 4th or 5th season, and he has very good speed, good tackler, just needs some extra depth behind Lawrence Clears. We may actually be able to keep Francis Goodwin on the team, and I just had the idea of moving him to safety potentially because he's probably not going to play corner for us anymore, and that would open up some flexibility on defense. Contracts accepted by Huggins and Drew. I did give him a small contract offer because he didn't have a market that was large. So that gives us another option for the offensive line. We can move McCarron here to center and actually list him there. But otherwise, the offense is mostly good. We should come away with a receiving tight end sometime in the draft. But now I'm thinking about the possibility of playing Moses Austin at strong safety, because his speed really isn't that great to begin with. I think he fits better at strong safety at this point, perhaps. And then Goodwin, who still retained a lot of his speed, could play free. You don't see too many early first-round tight end prospects, but here's one that could go early. Darius Hodge from Wisconsin. He has that 6'5", 261-pound frame with 4.6 speed. Yeah, this is as good of a tight end prospect as I think I've ever seen in Madden. But he's not the only good one. James Leach, another early first-round prospect. This could be a really strange class. I'm trying to find the right pick for us because we're selecting at 32 once again. We do have 2 second-round picks, 2 thirds, 2 fours, so we could move up the board if we need to, which at this stage, we're not a team that needs like 9 or 10 rookies, so I'd rather go up the board and get some value. And if that means trading up for a tight end in this class, I might have to consider it. Amari Weston here would not be a bad player to settle for because I don't think 4.72 is going to make him too slow. Plus, he can block, and I really like combo tight ends. Here are my current negotiations. Darius Payne is out there, but I still see tight end as a need even if he does sign. And he's not a dynamic receiver. He's been productive at points, but we could still get younger there. We're also going to enter a new era at the running back, or the fullback position rather, and sign Devontae Madden if he'll accept this deal. 90 impact blocking, that really stands out to me. Let's go get a great fullback. Isn't it like after the offseason we see who makes the Hall of Fame? I forget exactly when that is because I haven't seen it yet. Darius Payne accepts the deal, so we keep our former starting tight end, who might still be our starting tight end, but I still want to address that early if I can. And then we'll see if Francis Goodwin has any other offers, because I'd like to keep him. Now, Madden has a market. Goodwin does not. I'll just up his offer a little bit and try to seal the deal. We'll throw in another $100,000. What do you say, Francis? I also plan on winning this battle if we can. Devontae Madden will increase the offer to 1.75. And that should give us the lead. Yeah, no problem. And there you go. Devontae Madden accepts the contract, and so does Francis Goodwin, who is now going to play safety. So his legacy with the Cleveland Browns will continue, and hopefully his interception count continues to rise. How strange could this draft be, though? We have the top 7 prospects, and in there, we have a running back, 2 tight ends, and a safety, which are positions that typically aren't taken in the top 10 or the top 7. You'd want to see more quarterbacks, wide receivers, pass rushers, defensive tackles. So this could be interesting. I wonder if anyone falls, because if someone does fall out of like the top 10, I will definitely want to move up. To recap free agency, here is where the top players went, with Hammond going to Miami for $34 million. Tre'Davious White gets the 1-year, $14 million deal. You see a lot of corners get that 1-year big contract. Same with offensive linemen in this series. Sellers, big time receiver here, gets $72 million roughly. Severud ends up with $88 million. Wow. That was way more than I thought he'd get. Wasn't his original like offer to us like he wanted 60 or 70 with like 20 guaranteed? Walker Sharpe gets 21.8 over 4 years to go to Tampa. Here is what we did in free agency, saving $32.6 million in cap room, which will go down as we sign our rookies. But we kept 3 players on the team previously, signed a fullback and a backup linebacker. So no reason to get too aggressive in free agency. I'd rather get aggressive in the fun part of the offseason. Time for the NFL draft. And I have major interest in moving up the board should the opportunity present itself. But I want to sim the first 5 picks and we'll see where things go. As we start out with a receiver going number 1. Then a receiver goes number 2. And a tight end goes number 3. I wondered if it would actually play out that way, where the tight ends went early. We have 4 offensive players, and now the first defensive player. It's Burbank, the linebacker. Hodge goes 6. It's just way too high for us to trade up. So the 2 tight ends and the safety go in the top 7. And that means we'll need some new targets then, as I probably still want to plot a move up and not wait. The draft board consists of 59 players this year. That seems like a lot. And I don't think there is a glaring need. Although we could add a player like Janelle McGee, who could move to defensive tackle potentially and be a great addition. I think that's probably our most pressing need, so we can get our defensive pass rush back on track. So I have defensive tackle options. And we don't necessarily have to trade up for these players right now because they're late first-round prospects. The top tight end for me now is going to be Amari Weston, and I actually get a second-round talent I want to draft in the second round, so I'll keep him in mind. Otherwise, it's kind of a BPA situation, honestly. Normally, I'm a bit more focused on filling needs than just going BPA. Early in the draft anyway. I think that later in the draft, BPA, I like it more because I'm a believer in filling needs and not just ignoring holes that could derail your season at the worst possible moment. So let's get more to the middle of this round. We have a lot of corners going. I had some interest in them, but I don't think it's at all something we need to address early in this draft. Maybe late I can find a good athlete, and that's good enough. So we're just about 10 picks away from where we are. And so far, so good. Defensive linemen are really not getting taken very much. Rambo went, but he wasn't one of my targets. 23. There is a halfback. They go back to back to back. They all want to copy the Perry Cummings model. It's not going to work. He's one of a kind. Maybe I don't trade up at all. I don't really see the need yet. Rogers goes. All right, so it does appear that my top targets went. Sean Morton's going to be out there too, and that's an impressive top 3 skills. It's block shedding and both pass rush moves. However, the combine, not phenomenal. If I wanted to address that defensive tackle spot early, I still could. And there is the option to take either Paul Bryan, who could be more of a 3-technique defensive tackle, pass rusher, not really a nose tackle, but I think he has tremendous skills. And then you would have the option to take Camille Duckworth from Memphis. Both had good bench presses, so I'm not concerned about strength. I just like Paul Bryan's top 3 skills here, with block shedding and power moves being B+ and B compared to B and B. Not a lot to separate them, but I think Brian gets the slight edge. Let's just try moving up here. Can we give a 4th round pick to San Francisco? We can. It's only a few spots to move up, but I didn't want to miss out on more of my targets going. And I think it's a fair trade in the 1st round. So at 29 overall, we can make our selection, and it's going to be the defensive lineman, Paul Bryan from Alabama. We make the pick. And Brian is 27th in true talent, 81 strength. That's actually lower than I thought it was going to be. But we have quick development, great block shed, power moves is good. He can move the defensive tackle, which might change his overall. But I like the talent here quite a bit. So Duckworth ends up going 32nd overall to San Francisco. I want to see his ratings and compare the two. Morton goes at 35. I think my target now is going to be at tight end. So we'll see if anything happens as we approach the middle of this round. I think both of our picks are pretty late, like the 25th pick and the 32nd pick in the round. Also, what I could do is go find another backup quarterback. We have drafted many of them in this series or traded for them, just to always be prepared for when Anton Greenberry does call it a career. So with Preston Tant being on the roster a few years, Charles Backus might be worth getting, especially because deep accuracy in the top 3 alongside accuracy shorts. I'm very intrigued. I want to move up to 46, just seeing what it will take to get there. I'm okay giving up the other 4th round pick as well. And we can... oh, it's going to take a little bit more. The Jets do need a quarterback too, so you have to think that they're possibly going to take him. So we'll move up 11 spots, giving up a 4 and a 6. And we'll again address the backup quarterback spot and put Preston Tant on the trade block. Backup quarterbacks have not gotten to play in Cleveland. We're going to make the selection of Charles Backus. And he has a 76 overall rating, 90 throw power, 86 short, 78 medium, but 81 deep. So a very interesting player. Maybe it wasn't necessary for this team to trade up for a quarterback, and then Weston goes at 51. We were still down at 64. But I think the quarterback was going to go. I like the value there. It was hard to pass up on. Plus, we're a pretty solid team, so I think we can afford to make that decision. But now I'm not sure if there's anyone I want to trade up for. I'm cool waiting. Jets do take a quarterback right there, so they probably would have if we didn't make the trade earlier. I can't believe that draft picks in 2030 are now available to be traded. I think I want to get out of this spot. I'll take a future 2 from Chicago. I'll pick up their 3, giving us 3 third-round picks to play with now. But I think I could have managed the draft so far a lot better than I did. So we'll go all the way down to 81 and then reevaluate the board. Not many players on the board stand out right now for this spot in the draft, and there aren't many third-round selections, third-round prospects even here. I don't know if I want to take Douglas Golden. He's only 21. Cover skills are all right. Combine, not fantastic. I think the player I like most on the board right now is Leonard Charleston, and I don't think he'll go soon. But he's very strong. He's a good run blocker. He'd be a great addition to our offensive line, I think. And I'm just trying to find the right spot to select him, maybe. He's the top guard on the board right now, so why not go make the pick? Charleston is 62nd in true talent with quick development. The strength, as I said, was very good. 81 run, 74 pass, but being 21 with quick development will help make up for that pass block in no time. I forgot about TJ Mullins here, who is a really solid 4th round prospect. The speed is plenty for a possession receiver. No standout combine grade or combine score here, but they're all pretty okay. Broad jump is a little lacking, but I kind of like this player a lot. Mullins is the pick. He's 135 in true talent, so they call it a reach. Route running on him is very low, but otherwise he's solid and has some traits as well. I will trade down now with the New Orleans Saints, getting their 4th round pick and a future 3. I like the value more a little bit later. There are a couple players I have interest in. One of my targets was taken, but right now I'm going to go for a pass rusher. Gilbert Fitzgerald. He has good power moves from North Dakota. 68 overall, and the value is nearly spot on. 82 speed, 85 power move. He is going to add to our depth. Late 5th round, I have 12 players on my board, not too bad. Unfortunately, all the tight ends I had interest in have been drafted, so we're going to stick with Dontarius Payne, it would appear, unless somebody else is out there or we make a trade. We're going running back right here, the power back Morgan Reinhardt, and he's a 67 overall, but 102 in true talent. He has very good speed and trucking, and gives us a power back to add to the mix. We're down to just 4 players now on the board. I might as well go safety here. We have Freddie Love versus Douglas Knight. I definitely like Freddie Love more as a prospect, so we're going to take him here. 87th in true talent. The speed is average, coverage is good, so not a bad backup safety at least. And it's time once again for the Browns to select at 224 overall this year's Mr. Irrelevant. Who is it going to be? We drafted a kicker in this spot last year. We have 2 players that I have scouted, which means that we are going to basically find the most intriguing athletes and try to turn this into a good selection. Almost everyone's an undrafted talent. We're going with a tight end finally, Henry Stratton from West Virginia. Could he be the steal of the draft? Stratton is a 65 overall, and they won't even let me look at his ratings. So the draft has come to an end. Definitely not the most impactful draft we've done in this series, and I could have done some things better early on to be more efficient. We start out with Paul Bryan, who's going to play defensive tackle, and I can't wait to see what his overall is, so let's just do that right now then. Paul Bryan, number 99 from Alabama. We move him to D tackle, and he turns into an 82 overall, so perfect. Charles Backus then makes it so we could trade Preston Tant as we get another young quarterback on the roster. Leonard Charleston could be a future starter with his quick development. TJ Mullins is a solid possession wide receiver. Yeah, it's not a terrible draft. I think it just could have been more efficient. Oh wow, the Bengals got 281 overall players. Torian Price, really good cornerback. Run support. What's the tackling then? He has 73 and 73 hit power. Okay, really good cornerback. Thomas Word, speed running back. All right, they're trying to get their own version of Perry Cummings. I see them now following the lead of the Cleveland Browns. So here's Camille Duckworth. I almost selected him. He is slow development, so that right there makes me happy that we didn't select him. Still a good player, but I wanted to get someone who could be like a 90 overall at some point, and I think we did that. Here's Darius Hodge, an 81 overall rookie tight end with vertical speed, 84 catching. All right, he's definitely deserving of being a top 10 selection, looks like. The Ravens also went running back first round, but it is not a speed back. We have Lenaric Sullivan here from Michigan State, and he has 88 speed, but superstar development. Very good moves in his skill set. Has a little power to his game, so nice selection for them. I like our division rivals going after these running backs to copy what we've done. Here is Amari Weston, who is a 76 overall, and he would have been the type of player that I wanted to draft. Would have been perfect. The Steelers did not take a running back in the first round. Instead, they went wide receiver, then took a 68 overall quarterback. So questionable decisions for them. Here is how things look at the moment with the offense very similar to a year ago. There aren't many differences. Basically, a new fullback in Devontae Madden, and he is actually a major upgrade for us. Then we have XP to spend. Perry Cummings is the 99 overall. He's going to go to 102 after this. On defense, a little bit different, as we have Francis Goodwin now at free safety, Moses Austin at strong safety. We're going to move Gregory Anthony to defensive end, And then our defensive tackle group gets a little bit stronger, adding in Brian. And there's still Tanico as well, who has been trying to develop, but he's 27 years old, so probably not going to get too much better at this point. Overall, solid team. I feel like more or less our caliber probably stayed the same from last offseason, and last season got us a Super Bowl, so hopefully it's good enough once again. We'll see if we can go back to back to back. But now, next episode, my plan is to sim the entirety of the season, unless we make the Super Bowl, and then I'll do another episode for that. So I'll abbreviate things a little bit for next episode, maybe not recap every game, and instead recap them in like quarters. So every 4 games, I'll just talk about where the team is going. But you can leave your feedback down below in the comment section on what you think about the way I am wrapping this up. There we go. Hall of Fame class down below. That's what I've been looking for. But there are so many news stories because of the draft, it's hard to sort through. Alright, so I can check the Hall of Fame here, and here are the players that have been inducted in this series. Doesn't have like the year they were inducted, so you just have to recognize the names and that's it. Many big names, obviously. No major surprises as far as like, you know, they're all pretty much top players at the start of this series, some of the best players at their positions. And recently, the newest member of the Hall of Fame appears to be Earl Thomas or Michael Thomas, because the news headline said Thomas. I think it was Michael Thomas. So he joins the Hall of Fame. Alright everyone, that's going to end this episode. I hope you enjoyed it. Once again, leave your feedback down below in the comment section, and I will see you all in the next episode. Please subscribe to the channel as we close in on 100,000 subscribers, and I will see you all again soon. Have a great day.